Welcome, I'm Mike Connor with Spice Catalyst, an agile business acceleration agency. This presentation is designed to help you create an insanely great sales enablement program by using the customer journey to facilitate the planning dialogue between your marketing and sales teams. In this presentation, we'll cover why it's so critical to support personal sales interactions in today's business-to-business marketplace with great content and the analytics that we can gather from our marketing systems. We'll talk about some of the common challenges that companies trying to create sales enablement programs face, and how using the customer journey can help you overcome those challenges. Then, we'll provide you a starter set of stage-by-stage recommendations to help make your sales enablement program insanely great. We've also created a great workbook for you that's available on our website at spicecatalyst.com at no charge. You can download that presentation at the link below. This presentation is part of our Creating an Insanely Great Customer series. That series is based on an agile marketing methodology that we've developed here at Spice Catalyst. That methodology focuses on creating high-value customers through relationships based on continual mutual learning and innovation, and by delivering breakthrough value at each stage of the customer journey. With that as a backdrop, let's get started. Despite all the focus on content marketing, social media, and marketing automation today, the bar for sales has never been higher. We've all read the research. 60% of the purchasing decision is made before the customer ever reaches out to a salesperson. And while that's good justification for us to really focus on creating great content, it also means that our salespeople have to be better prepared than ever when they meet customers. No customer is going to be excited about having a sales meeting where the salesperson simply provides them brochures they've already read or can't take them any deeper into your product or your capabilities or the value it creates for their business than what they've been able to gather online. According to Steve Martin, personal interactions with prospective customers is what will determine who wins and who loses the deal. So business-to-business sales, it's personal. It still takes salespeople to close those deals. And to close those deals, our salespeople need information. They need the right information for the right person at the right time in the buyer's journey. There's a number of research reports out there that indicate that business-to-business salespeople are spending on average almost a day a week trying to sort through the information and the content that's out there and structuring it to meet the specific needs of the customers that they're working with. That sales time that's lost is sales time that is gained by competitors. And sales time gained by competitors means deals that we've lost. Using the customer journey as a framework sets up a great dialogue between marketing and sales. It provides a framework that defines who needs what information when in the overall sales cycle or the customer journey. The who are the decision makers and influencers within the account that are part of evaluating and making the decision about which solution they'll go for. These are typically defined by personas that have been created by marketing. Business-to-business purchases typically involve multiple decision makers. There is research out there that tells us for purchases as small as $20,000, as many as 20 people can be involved. Now, we don't advocate creating personas for each of those, but we do believe there's likely to be at least a good handful of people that you do want to build personas for. And the quality of those personas and the accuracy of those personas is the key to creating great content and to providing guidance from a sales engagement standpoint to sales that helps you close deals. The what you need in terms of content will be defined by the requirements outlined in the personas. And when that content is needed will depend on where the prospect is in the buyer's journey, what their specific needs are, and the preceding activities that they've engaged in. Different content will be valuable at different stages in the customer journey. Towards the front end of the funnel, the thought pieces that align the needs of that industry and that company and the business drivers that are setting the pace for their decision making will probably be most valuable. As you near the middle of the funnel, where purchase decisions are being made, it's likely that the financial and ROI information that you can provide that demonstrates the value your solution is bringing to these customers will be the most valuable. Once they've been using your product and are up and running with it, and you've created a relationship with them, what would become valuable then is business case information that allows them to justify moving to the next level with you. One of the most important things to remember as you're developing your content and your sales engagement program is that the greatest value that your solution offers business-to-business customers is the ability to save them time and or save them money or make them money. IDC tells us that the closer we get to the decision point, the more important information that helps them make the financial arguments for acquiring your solution, that demonstrate the specific capabilities of your product and how those are differentiated from others, and the ability to back that up with solid proof that what you promised them you can deliver. In the early stages of the customer journey, the interactions with prospects and customers will be most likely driven by marketing. As you get closer to the purchase point, sales will take the lead there, and they will be seen as the primary go-to person by the customer for additional informational needs. Let's first dig into some of the broader requirements for creating an insanely great sales enablement program. One of the first things is that this has to be about continual learning and innovation between marketing, sales, and customers. Products change, competitors change, the business factors that are impacting your customers' industries and their company change, and buyer behavior changes. So creating a great sales enablement program means staying on top of that and making sure that there's a continual dialogue between your teams and customers about what information is going to be most valuable to them when in the purchase process. As we talked about earlier, personas are really important here. Those too will change. And so it's important that sales is trained on those and they understand how those particular personas relate to the content that you're developing and when those personas are likely to use that. Additionally, when you're publishing content out there or you're presenting your information out at trade shows and so on, it's important to make sure that sales knows where that is and how it's being used, and even more importantly, how to access it. The other thing that we talked about was tracking the customer activity. What content have they used? Who within the account has used it? When did they engage with that content? Did they share that content with someone else? Did they come back to the support organization and have questions that they needed answers for? With today's systems, we can track most of that. And the key is to make sure that when we transfer a lead that we've qualified as being sales ready over to sales, that information comes with it so that our salespeople aren't starting fresh. They're starting with the information that tells them what the customer has been interested in, what information they've already consumed. So they're really ready to create a highly valuable conversation with that customer when they first get in front of them. As we get closer to the purchase point, making sure that the sales team has got exceptional turnaround on requests for additional information and or access to internal experts will be very important. These can make or break deals. As we talked about earlier, salespeople can spend as much as a day a week trying to chase down the right content and structure it to meet customer needs. One of the best things you can do to reduce that time and improve sales effectiveness is to take and create your content with an information architecture that supports the way content needs to be used by the customer and your sales team. The starting point should be the thought leadership pieces. These are the pieces that capture your overall positioning and capabilities that you offer the marketplace, and that align those capabilities with the key business drivers that are impacting the decisions made within your customer organizations. Next are the product and technical pieces that break down your product and its capabilities and the solution that you offer, and align that with the specific high-value use scenarios of your customers. The good news is, in the world of business to business, we typically do a pretty good job of that. The next thing we'll need is product evaluations that have been done by someone other than you, so third parties. Two kinds of those. One is the more formal ones that have been done by companies such as Gartner or other analysts, and the other is the information that you've gathered from your existing customer base about the value you've created for them. Those could come in the form of case studies and or peer reviews. Once that information is in place, the next step along the way will be proving it, proving that you can deliver that. And so those proof points come in the way of proof of concepts, pre-purchase trials, demonstrations of your product, all that align back to the core needs of the customer. And then finally, as we move towards the purchase, what is the true business value? What's the return on investment the customer will receive from incorporating your solution into their operations? Structuring your content this way makes it easy for the customers and for your sales people to access the information they need when they need it in the form they need it. So we've just covered off the high-level requirements that need to be a part of all of your sales enablement activities and programs. Now we'll dive into the stage-by-stage requirements. And these requirements are designed to tell you what kind of content is needed where in the customer journey, so that both the customer and your sales team can access it as they need it. The first step along the customer journey we call the status quo. And at that point, no one in that company has yet recognized that they have a problem or that they need your solution. The person that we want to reach is the person inside the company or the organization that really wants to stay on top of trends and drivers within their industry or within their job function. What you can provide that will create value for them and begin the relationship with them is providing objective thought leadership that talks about the trends and the issues that are changing their industry and how solutions like yours can help them address those. So this is not a heavy sales piece as much as it is orienting them to what's going on in their marketplace and in their industry and the challenges that that industry or their company faces, and solutions that can help them address those in effective ways. At some point, something changes. Merger and acquisition, competitive threat, new executive that wants to change the game, recognition that their infrastructure is no longer going to take them where they need to go. Any one of those things can drive them to make the decision that they need to start changing the way they're doing business. At this point, what the champion needs is the ability to establish themselves in a leadership role, which means they need to convey a solid grasp of the information and the issues that are out there. And they need to be able to quickly pull together and assess the needs and the opinions of the internal decision makers and influencers. What you can provide that will create value for them at this stage is an objective overview of how to go about that, and also provide them the beginnings of the information about what it will mean to change from their existing solution to a new solution and some of the risk factors that are involved, and outline for them some of the core concepts about how to go about making the decision as to what's right for them. That information they can then use to start orienting the team that they'll pull together to help them move forward in the buyer's journey. Once their team is assembled, they'll now cast a wide net and they'll start to explore a range of options. What the champion ultimately needs in this stage is a framework that helps them narrow the field, that helps them look at all the alternatives out there, more deeply understand their own needs, their challenges, and the risks, and what it will take to deploy that solution within their environment successfully. What you can provide them at this point is an objective framework that helps them make those comparisons in an objective way, and in particular, gets them to surface the high value use scenarios that will be providing them most of the value the solution has to offer. And this is where your modular information will start to come into play. During the next stage, they'll now move from that very wide net down to likely less than a handful of solutions that they're going to do a deep dive evaluation on. And here is where they're going to be contrasting and comparing capabilities and the vendor proof points against those high value use areas. They'll need the ability to rank, order their needs and the capabilities of the potential vendors that they're evaluating. This is where they'll also start to dig into analyst reports, start to talk to peers, engage in vendor presentations, proof of concepts, and live trials. This is where you want to make sure that you've provided the support for them in terms of making that kind of information available in a modular form. As part of your sales enablement program, you want to make sure that your salespeople have the training that allows them to sit down with the champion and really qualify what the core requirements are of the decision makers that will be involved in terms of making a decision to move forward with a purchase. One of the worst things you can do is just turn them loose on a demo or turn them loose on a trial without understanding what the high value use scenarios are that they'll be making their decision on. Once their evaluation is done, they'll move into creating a business case to support their recommendations. At this point, they'll be reviewing their findings and recommendations with key stakeholders. They'll be identifying key proof points that support those recommendations. They'll also start to work with identifying key areas that they'll want to negotiate. And all of that will be reviewed with internal stakeholders. What you can provide them that will create value, again, is an objective framework for this business case. And also provide modular supporting content. Make sure that they can succinctly describe the needs and the capabilities within that business case. And pay a lot of attention to the proof of business value delivered, the financial aspects, the return on investment, because this is what the executives will be looking for. Once they've formalized the business case, the next step will be to go around and gain internal buy-in from across the organization. And this is where the champion will be receiving additional requests for investigation, proof points, and pet peeves from people who aren't necessarily supportive of their recommendation. What you'll need to make sure that you can do for your salespeople is provide really fast turnaround on those new requests. Make sure that what you're providing is a balanced and objective response. And to make sure that the content that you're providing is modular and easily fits within the framework they're working with. Once internal buy-in is done, we now move into the purchase stage. And unfortunately, purchases are never quite as easy as just getting the deal signed. At this point, it's very likely that executives that haven't been involved in the decision making before will now come to surface. And believe it or not, they'll have their own opinions, they'll have their own questions, and they'll want the champion to go back and gather additional information to address those. They will also start to work on their negotiation structure. What you can provide from a sales enablement standpoint here and a customer support standpoint is a really clear elevator pitch on what's being purchased and why, with a clear understanding